Hello everyone, so my name is Dilip Singh and welcome back to Dilip IT Academy. Yes, as part of our microservices sessions, we completed the importance of microservices over the monolithic application in today's application development, as well as we completed one more important component called as API gateway as part of our microservices architecture in our application development point of view. So in today's session also, we are going to see one more important component called as service registry. That means what is the importance of service registry, why we need service registry as part of our microservices implementation whenever we are implementing the distributed systems. And if you don't have the service registry, and what kind of challenges we are going to face, especially when we are dealing with dynamic scaling of our microservices. So that means to achieve the dynamic routing towards Spring Cloud API gateway to respective microservices, in this case, the service registry is placing an important role. As well as we have one more important concept called as services discovery also, but in this session primarily we are focusing more and more on the service registry. And that means how we are going to implement a service registry application, how service registry application is going to fetch all the informations of microservices, and what kind of configuration we have to do, especially when you are creating the service registry application. We will see in this application as a step-by-step process. Let's dive into service registry application importance and implementation right now. So right now we are seeing about service registry and discovery. So here, what is the meaning of registry and what is service means microservice, that we know that. But what is the concept of service registry and as well as discovery, we have to understand. Okay. So generally, okay, leave about microservices for some time. We will take a regular or human life example point of view, so that we can easily correlate same thing with microservices concept also. Because see, whenever people are implemented some architecture, some solutions, means it's all comes from human life, real life scenarios only, right? So similarly, so let's try to understand in such a way. For example, we have some organization. Okay, some you are organizing. Assume something. You are organizing some people. Maybe you have some small business or whatever it is. You have some small office, whatever it is. You are organizing the people. People means employee. So your employees, whatever it is, in your business point of view, you have some office or whatever it is. Okay, now generally how we will track the people based on everyday point of view. Assume you are having 20 people, overall 20 people only. So especially a small thing point of view I'm talking. Now generally to track all these 20 people, what we can do, generally what we will do, we will make a something like everyday attendance point of view, we will make it. That means an employee, the moment an employee enters into the moment employee enters into organization, what we used to do is we will ask him to make an entry in the somewhere else. We will make a registry book, right? We will make some book or attendance book or whatever it is. So in a simple level, I'm telling you, it's just very common thing, right? We will make a logging book, okay, attendance book, whatever we will call it as. So what employee will do now, the moment employee entered into the organization, so the first thing is he has to make his entry. So entry means what is the meaning of why we are making this law, why we are using this book. Okay. So the moment he is entering, he is making entry. Okay, I am available and I came to to the office, like that. He is making an entry. And then he is available inside our organization. Now the person is available inside our office, right? So similarly, all 20 people will make their entries as well as what they will do when they are logging off their work. Okay, so similarly, they will make the exit entry also, right? So they will log entry time and exit time point of view. Generally, we will do that. So what is the benefit of this? Generally, why we will do this? So that this tracker will help us on particular time or on so and so time who are the persons available into the office. That is the main reason. I want to check how many people. So total 20 people are having their own works. So now every day I want to monitor, I want to see, okay, every day point day wise or whatever it is generally. So it's all person availability. Simply what it is, availability. So that now assume if so and so person is missing means his entry is not there, means the person is not there. So that means no entry means No entry means that person not available. In a simple point of view, not available. That respective person is not available, right? So that is how we are just making a tracking, so that based on this information we are making, okay, now, for example, you want to verify Dilip is the person came or not. So out of 20 people, then you will see is entry available in the book or not. So yes, it's available. That means Dilip is available, so that you can call Dilip and you can assign or you can utilize Dilip or whatever it is for any other functionalities. So that means here, my point here it is every employee, the moment entered into office, he's making registration. So now let's correlate same thing with the microservices point of view. So just a basic example I taken. So now in this case point of view, every microservice, generally in the microservices architecture point of view, we will correlate it. So that means now here, every employee, the moment entered into office to perform the real activities, office activities, he is making the registration. He is making the registration. So the moment it is registration means now, for example, that's what I said. Okay, you are the boss. So now out of 20 people, you want something, a person called as XYZ person. Okay, and you want to call XYZ person. And you are able to access this book generally. Now, generally, what you can do, you will verify this XYZ available in today's date or not. Available or not. Available or not, we will just verify it. So the moment he is available, what you will do? So that means there are two cases. One thing is available, right? So then you will call and you will assign some work or you will do whatever it is. That means some success scenario. If not available, that person is not available means you can't do that one. So something like the person is not available means you are unable to do the work, not able to do anything. Something like that, negative scenario point of. So that means what I'm trying to say is here this book is acting as a centralized registration, a centralized database where all persons availability it is maintaining. If that person is registered in that book, so that means he is available. If not, that means he is not available. So that means he is not available means that XYZ responsibilities no one cannot performable until XYZ is available. So that means in this case, this is the point I'm talking more about here. It is this book is helping us to track each and every person availability on that specific day, everyday point of view. This book is helping us. The respect. This book is helping us, or this is helping us. Okay, the respective people available or not. If available, then so that we can assign some work. If not available, then we will make a call like he is not available, whatever it is. So this book is helping us to trace or to track all persons availability. So similarly, now just correlate same with service registry and service discovery also. The point of service registry and service discovery again in this case is, so what exactly in this case service registry and service discovery point of view here it is. Now, yes, microservices architecture. Okay, backend microservices architecture. Now, the first component we know gateway also. We are clear with gateway. And how many microservices available in our application architecture? We are not guaranteed. Maybe 30, 40, 10, 5, 6 also. The moment you are having less microservices, it's okay. It's very easy to trace. Assume you are having 40, 50 microservices. As part of your single application itself, you have 40, 50 microservices. Now the point here it is, okay, assume let's just like 40 microservices. So now the 40 microservices, I want to see what is the gateway importance in this case. Gateway just delegating the request, routing the request or delegating the request to, so simple, a incoming request came to the gateway. Gateway level, we are making a configuration and gateway just checking that microservice available or not. So if available, then it is trying to forward the that respective request to so and so microservice, right? So the request came, then what gateway is doing? Gateway is checking, okay, it is user microservice. Assume like that. Just so the moment it is checking for user microservice available or not, assume the microservice is not available. The microservice is not available. Okay, then some failure response you will get like service is not available. That's okay. Assume user microservice is available. Now, the moment user microservice is available, and it is available as 5 instances. Assume it is available under 5 instances. So that means only user microservice point of view, the port numbers are 8001 and 8002, 8003, 8004, and 8005, something like that. So in our previous point of view, if you take in the gateway, we configured only 8001, right? So then the request will be routed always to the respective 8001 microservice of instance user microservice. But the rest of four, how the rest of four should be executed? How the rest of four will be executed? I mean, that means the request always goes to only 8001, even though you have 5 instances, but the request is always going to the only one instance because the reason is you configured only one. Now, what you have to do in this case, you have to configure routing information of all other port numbers also. In this case, we have to do other instances. We have to configure other instances configuration also. So we have to give all the ports information and everything, but it is a biggest disadvantage, right? Why? See, 8002 is already used by 8002 is already used by some. I mean, it's not like that. The point here it is who knows dynamically how many instances I'm making up. Today it is 5. Tomorrow, due to some reason, some maybe I can make it as 10 instances also. The moment whenever I'm making 10 instances, that means 10 port numbers. 10 port numbers. So after some point of time, again, I will decrease to 3 instances. So that means that is the main agenda of microservices, right? Scalability. The moment the microservices, okay, the number of whatever the microservices I want to increase, individual point of view, I can increase. Tomorrow, if you take a product, by default, assume 10 instances available, 10 default, 10 instances. But on all of sudden, I want to make it as 20 for some time only. So that means the moment I made 20 instances, are you going to configure 20 times again in this gateway level? It's the biggest problem again. So that means for user point of view, again, you are adding 10 more configurations. For production point of view, again, 10 more configurations. No, it's very difficult. Every time coming back and configuring here, that you are not sure on which port numbers these new instances are going to be started like this. So that means it's a disadvantage only. So with respect to gateway point of view, the routing what you are doing is all about what some disadvantage because user is having right now 8001, but I want 10 more instances. That means 10 port numbers, and you don't know what port numbers every time the user microservice is getting started or whatever it is. So can we make something like dynamically? So it might be today 10. Tomorrow again I will reduce to 5. 10 to 5 I can make it. Again I can make it as 7 also. So that means I can scale up, I can scale down the number of instances of each microservice based on my need. Then how can we manage this dynamic routing configuration also with respect to gateway? So now gateway point of view, for example, in this case, gateway point of view. So gateway, the moment you given 5 instances information, okay, then gateway will understand. Let's make some okay request shared to all instances like that. It will share across all 5 instances. That means assume it is performing some kind of load balancing point of view. Okay, it's not performing load balancing also, but still I'm saying like it is just routing the request to respective 5 instances based on the port numbers or whatever it is internally you did the configuration point of view, it is taking the decision. But the point here it is every time hard coding, every time providing this all information like 8001, 8002, 8005, all this for every microservice point of view, dynamically these many number of configurations, it's very difficult, right? So that's in such case also, the service registry is going to help us. Not only this, lot of other areas also, service registry is going to help us. So now let's see same scenario microservices point of view. By just considering this example, I'll introduce the service registry. So what service registry is saying in this case is, see, service plus registration. That is what called as service registry. So if you are dividing service means microservice, registry means, okay, registry means nothing but registration. So what in this case microservices architecture point of view, the service registry component is saying is, okay, if we are taking this as a service registry, so that means this is one more application. So I mean one more component of microservices architecture, service register. So what this service registry agenda in microservices architecture is, understand the point again. Okay, let me write first a statement, then you can understand very easily. Then we will come back here again. So service registry is a centralized registry of all microservices of an application. For example, we taken 40 point of right overall microservices as part of one application. So that means service registry is a centralized registry of all microservices. So what is the point of this one? Again, here it is, see here. So now service registry grabs or collects or whatever it is, collect each microservice information and maintains internally. Who is maintaining? Service registry. So that means service registry is just like a centralized registry of all microservices of an application. And service registry collecting each microservice information and maintains, okay, that information internally. So that means now what is the point of service registry or in this overall architecture, the importance of service registry? Let's try to understand now again, theoretical point of view. See, now what in this case, microservices architecture saying is, okay, Dilip, the moment you started user microservice, let's take one microservice. Okay, user microservice. The moment you started user microservice as a single instance, understand the point. First instance I started. See, in local also we can do that, guys. I'll show you. For example, right now only user service point of view, only one instance, right? I can show you how to start multiple instances of user service. In our local also, I'll show you that. Okay, we can do that. We can start the number of instances, whatever we want. I'll show that. By default, one only, but I can show you two more instances of user. If you want two, three also, we can create in this case. We will see that. Okay, so first instance I started. The moment I started a first instance, assume I given 8001 as the port number. What is the microservice name here again? User service. So that's what I said earlier. This property is the most important property now in microservices architecture. This property is going to play a biggest role. Now onwards, this property will have a lot of importance. So what will happen here? It is what service registry is saying in this case is, okay, the importance of service registries. The moment you started user microservice information, so make sure this microservice is going to be registered with, okay, this service registry application. I'll tell you. So what it was trying to say in this case is, the moment you started any microservice, please make sure your microservice information automatically, the service ID, that means especially in this case, service name and service port number, and as well as, yeah, especially these two information, host names, all these things, service host names, whatever it is. So these are all informations. These are all informations, especially service name, nothing but this name. This is the name I told you already. This property name, whatever we given, that will be considering always as a microservice name or microservice ID. Okay. So that means service name in this case, 8000 user service. Port number, right now you given 8001, right? So if you see here, it is started on 8001 port number. And host name means, okay, right now we are running on localhost in our computer system, localhost. So that means what this microservices point of view, the service registry is saying is, now understand the point, one more word, discovery also. Okay. So what is this service registry and discovery together saying is, in our microservices architecture, the moment we started our microservice, make this microservice as a discoverable by service register. See, that means whatever the microservices we are creating going on, that 40 microservices point of view, I'm talking the business microservices point of view, we are going to make one small extra component called as discovery client. So that means all 40 microservices, while we are implementing all 40 microservices, what we are going to do is all 40 microservices, we are going to make sure these services are as discovery clients. So we will say that how to make discovery clients in every microservice point of. In our architecture, I mean in our point of view, how many microservices we have? User, payment, order, right? So that means user, order, payment. These are all microservices implementation level. What we have to do is we have to make sure like we have to enable a small functionality called as discovery clients. So that means what is the meaning of discovery clients? Here it is. For example, I made user microservice as a discovery client. The moment you made user microservice as a discovery client, automatically this microservice information is going to be registered with service registry application. So that means this is also one more application, guys. Like however you created Spring Boot API gateway, right? Like as a web application. Similarly, service registry is also one more web application, but it will have a lot of extra functionalities. What it will do is whenever a discoverable client, so that means what user microservice saying is, hey, service registry, okay, I'm ready to share my information with you. Like that, we are enabling this functionality. So that means if you are not enabled, if you are, okay, in this case again, you are not enabled, what is that functionality? The discovery client. There are two things again. That's why I said enable. If not enable discovery client functionality, for example, one of the microservice called as I'll use something like a whatever it is. Maybe let's take like delivery module or whatever it is on high level point of view. I'm telling you. Now, this delivery service microservice is not ready to share. So that means in this case, service registry, okay, service registry cannot collect this microservice information. Why? This service is not discoverable. That means this respective service is not discoverable service registry. So if you enable again, that means then again this delivery information, microservice information, nothing but its service name, its port number, and its host name, all the information is maintained in the service registry. Now assume user microservice level, I enabled it. Then what will happen? Automatically in the service registry level, okay, under user microservice, what is the service name, guys? In this case, microservice name, our microservice's name is user microservice. So it will maintain an information like, okay, port number 8001 and host name, localhost. So it's health status. That means it just started, the application is up, right? So that means health status is up. We know health status. We discussed it in the actuator level, right? So the health status is up. Like that, this information is automatically registered with this application. The moment when you started first instance. Now again, I started order, single instance only. Again. So the moment you started again, order microservice point of view, what it will do is, again, this is also discovery enabled, discovery client enabled. So okay, you enable the discovery functionality on this microservice. Then again, this microservice will go to the service registry and it will start. Then service registry will collect all the information of microservice called as order service. And under this, what is the port number? 8000, maybe whatever we given, 8002, and we given host name as localhost. So that means what service registry is doing in this case, it is, okay, this application is acting of all services registration. Simply what's happening, guys, in this case, microservices, the moment you started any microservices, okay, which are enabled as a with discovery client functionality, microservices are getting registered in a centralized, microservices are getting registered in a centralized area, something like centralized memory or whatever it is. So like that, the moment again, if I started, okay, so right now, how many microservices I started? Two. That's why two got registered. Now again, if I started payment service, okay, and this is also enabled, discovery client functionality is enabled, then again, what will happen? So this information is also maintained under the service registry application, under the service registry application. So that means now what service registry is doing in this case is on a overall. So if I take an individually service registry like this, what it is doing is, so user service And then what is the port number? 8001 and comma, okay, just like that, comma, localhost. The host name is localhost and health status is up. Like that, it is maintaining, right? And similarly, the moment I started order service, internally, it is collecting all the information of that microservice, like its host name, port number, as well as, okay, localhost. And this status is also up. Okay, single instance. And similarly, we started payment hyphen service also, right? And then under payment service point of view, again, 8003 is the instance, comma, localhost, and comma, up, like that. So this information is captured by the service registry now. When we started one instance. But based on my need, I said I can increase, I can decrease. Now assume I started use case, in this case is two more user service instances. What is the my use case in this case is I started two more user microservice instances. That is what my use case now. So now I started with port number called as, okay, already 8001, 8002, 8003 is busy, right? So I assume I given something, I can give anything, right? So let's take like this. So I started one more second instance. Already one instance is available, right? Second instance point of view, I am giving port number called as 8010. And third instance point of view, I'll show you right away how to start more instances in our local also with same port numbers. 8011 I give. So now what you are doing is you started two more instances. I think I'll show you. See here, for example, user service 8001, right? If you want to create, duplicate config, make duplicate config like this. So the moment you made duplicate config, you will get this duplicated one. One more configuration point of view. Go this, open config. Yeah, I think here you can give server.port equal to 8001. Sorry, 8000, what we taken? 8010. So user service, second instance. You can change name also. Second instance. So let's give port number here. See the property name, generally what we will give in our properties file, right? Server.port. Same port number I given here now. Apply it and then, okay, that means now select it, start it. See, I'm starting second instance of user microservices. Now, if you observe here, okay, let me start in normal mode instead of debugging mode. Now see here, I'm starting first instance is already running on 8001 port number. Now I started second instance. And which port number? And if you observe here, what is the port number, guys? 8010. So see here now, 8010 context path is used. So only thing is port number. Now if you want one more instance, right? Take existing one, make the duplicate config. So now this is one, right? Then open the config. And if you want, you can give name also, third service, whatever it is, just your understanding point of view, right? So I 8011, apply, close it, and then come back here, start it. So that's how you can make see, single application only, user microservices, source code point of view, we created only single project. But from day one onwards, I'm saying, right, we can start the number of instances we want for user microservices, product microservices, like that. Yes, you can do like this. So total two instances, three instances. So now user microservice running on 8001, 8010, 8011. So if I want to make sure the load is getting distributed, the request comes like this. Lot of users are doing sign up and login. Okay, assume like that. So sometimes the request gateway application, the request will come to gateway, right? Now user microservice running on 8001. And this is the only I configured via gateway point of view. What gateway is doing? Even though 8010, 8011 point of view, two more instances are there. But still gateway is forwarding request to all to this only. These two are not being utilized by gateway. Why? Because we are not given this information to gateway. That means if you added again this two information also in the gateway routing configuration, then gateway will start, okay, routing request to this one, this one, this one also. So like that. But in this case, we are not done. But the problem here it is, okay, today it might be 8010, 8011. Once I stopped with this thing, then again the routing configuration also you have to remove from the gateway point of. Otherwise, it will feel like 8010 is available, 8011 is not available. For example, see here, again I'm stopping. Okay, so the moment I stopped, what will happen? Only two instances available now. If I stop at a second instance, now again only one instance is available. So that means I can add more as many number of instances I can add. I can decrease also. That means I can stop these instances. Now I want to make sure all these dynamic port numbers with respect to gateway point of view also. So that means it's not like okay Dilip just add 8010, 8011 right now in this case. Okay, I can add for one microservice user point of view, I can add for 8001 and 8011. But tomorrow, if again order point of view, if I created again few more microservice instances, something like 8020, 8021, okay, 8021, 8023, then how can I add all these, okay, dynamic instances point of view? How can I add all this information every time? It's not possible every time, right? So that's the reason this gateway registry is going to help us in this case also. I'll come back. Okay. I'm just saying like one of the drawback in the gateway I said, right? Drawback means this routing configuration point of view. So in this case also, this is going to give you a good solution. Now what is happening guys? The moment I started second instance, yes. Now again, because it's a discovery client, it will come to the service registry and it will say like, hey, service registry, right now, I got started like that. It will give its port number called as 8010 and localhost colon up. Up means up and running. Now, the moment you started third instance, again this information is captured under the same microservice ID. See, microservice ID is same. That means what is the port number 8011, comma, localhost, colon, localhost up, like that. So now see here, dynamically, the moment you started the number of instances, all the microservices information dynamically available in this service registry application. So similarly, you stopped one of the instance. So I stopped 8011 instance. I stopped one more use cases. I stopped 8011 instance. That means only two instances I want of user microservice. I stopped one of the instance that to 8011. Then again, what it will do in this case is it will, the moment, okay, service registry, what it will do is it will keep on checks the health status of this registered clients, guys. So internally, it will make always health checks of each microservice instance. Okay, frequently what it will do is internally, it will check always health status of each microservice instance. So whenever it is checking, okay, up, it's not stopped, it's working. It's up, no problem. But it is not reachable. Why you just stopped it? Then what service registry will do is service registry will remove this information from this, okay, from this point, from this registration point of view. That means what service registry is doing, it make a call to health check call to this service internally. So it's not found. 8011 is not reachable. That means it is stopped. Then what service registry is doing is it's making that 8011 instance is getting removed from the service registry. Now again you started. Again you started 8011. So then again then that information will be registered again has 8011 and the port number called as localhost and status as well. So similarly, order service. Now I started 5 instances of order services. 5 instances. Yes. What will happen? The moment every order instance got started, every information will come like 8021 and then localhost. The host name is also in this case up like that. So similarly, 8022 localhost. The moment you added all the things, all the information is centralized in a single place. Like that, all microservices information is registered with service registry application. For that, what you have to do? You have to make a small change. Now, okay, you have to add a small extra functionality called as discovery client. So client means what, guys, in this case? Microservices. So that means these are all discovery clients. These 540 microservices, you have to enable It's a single time step. Okay, single time small dependency you have to add. We will see that anyway. So you have to made all these 40 microservices are discovery clients. The moment you made all these are discovery clients, all 40 microservices information is registered here. So that means all 40 microservices info available. All 40 microservices info. Info means what? Each, the number of instances also, port numbers, everything available in a single position now. So that is called as service registry. Now, what is the advantage of this? See, now before contacting to the microservices, the actual microservice, now what gateway will do is in this case, now gateway is involved. Now what it will do is right now in this case, see actual microservices available. Assume these are all actual microservices in the overall application point of view. So the real microservices in this case, microservices apps, whatever you started instances, right? These are all real instances. Okay, whatever we started right now, all are instances, all these instances, order, payment, whatever the number of instances you started, everything. Now, what gateway will do in this case is, so again, the request came to gateway application. Something like, let's take from our previous example point of view, this one, right? Okay. So now client sent a request like this. The moment it got request like this, the moment it got a request like this, what it is going to do here it is, it's going to verify, it's going to verify, this is the gateway URL, right? So internally we will see that. Internally it will verify this API belongs to, okay, it will reach to gateway application like, so gateway application will reach to service registry and service registry will say like, okay, so gateway application will contact the service registry and ask service registry, hey service registry, I got a request for microservice. See, so one more, some small extra configuration we will do guys, okay? Here also we'll do some small extra configuration. Okay, so based on that configuration, what it will do is, it will contact the service registry. It will contact the service registry and ask like, hey service registry, I got request for user microservice. See, what it is asking, I got request for user microservice. Could you please tell me how many instances available? Then service registry is saying, okay, gateway, let's do one thing. I have total three instances. I have total three instances. And then, so take one of the instance and forward your request to respective instance. Like that it will, and that too, how it will decide is that instance, internal it will apply some load balancing. So I said, right, load balancing. I'll see whatever I'm explaining right now, everything we will see practically. Right now, I'm see in this case, understanding the architecture is more important in this overall microservices concepts because these are all very small configurations, small things only. But understanding the real concept is more important. So what it is doing is in this case load balancing. So what service registry will say like, okay, gateway. So first of all, user microservice available or not? Yes, available. But user microservice level, total three instances available, then it is saying like, okay, right now, this instance is having less load. So let's forward your request to this instance. Like then the request will be forwarded to. Now again, one more request came. Then again, user service is saying, okay, total three is available. Now this time, this is having less load. Let's forward this request to this instance. Now again, one more request came. By the time these two instances are already having little bit load, right? Then it will select this is having less load. So forward your request to that respective instance. So sorry, instance one, instance two, instance three. Now again, one more request came. So that means what in this case service is saying, I mean, what's happening? Default load balancing is also happening. Load balancing means what? Sharing the load across available instances. Similarly, one more request came from the client slash order or whatever it is. Then what will happen? It will ask service registry, hey service registry, I got some request for the order microservice. Can you please give me information? Then it will say like, yes, it's running on three instances. Let's, okay, forward your request to respective microservice. Okay, respective instance. Then the request will be forwarded to respective instance. Now again, one more request came again. Then again, service registry will say like, okay, this is little bit free now. Let's forward request like this. So that means the request is forwarding to all instances, okay, of a single microservice with respect to default load balancing. So this is how it is possible because you centralized all the microservices, okay, instances information in a single place. So that is how this service registry is helping us more and more in this microservices architecture. Because you are centralizing all microservices information at single place, then it is becoming very easy that too, you are maintaining the service registry information. Service registry is maintaining all microservices information. That means each microservice point of view, it is maintaining all instances information also. That means all 40 microservices information, all 40 microservices information, including all instances information available in single place. That is what service registry. Now your microservices acting as discovery clients, service discovery clients. So registry is a separate application, but our microservices itself, we are calling it as a discovery clients. Why? Because we have to enable all 40 microservices level as a discovery clients. Then only that service will be registered, guys. Okay, you don't want to, maybe you created some one more microservice, but actually you don't want to share that information with the service registry means don't enable it. By default, not enabled, don't enable, then that will not be registered here. So the moment you enable, then only it will register. So that means this microservice is saying like, I'm ready to share all my information. I'm ready to discover, I'm ready to share my information like that. You are enabling this information. You are making discovery clients are enabled like that. Then automatically service registry will collect all the information of that respective microservice every time like that. Now in this case, gateway is also going to contact service registry going on. So that means here we will make a call. We will configure something in the gateway also. Hey gateway, now going further. Please contact service registry. Like that, we will do some small configuration here. So then dynamic routing is automatically happening across all microservices. That means now if you go here, we can remove this completely. See now I am going to remove this. Why? This information is not required, right? So here I am going to configure. I'll tell to the gateway application contact service register. Contact service register. So simply what it is doing, it is contacting the service register. The moment it is contacting service registry is saying, okay, user microservice, right? Okay, we have 3 instances. Out of 3, this is having less load. Take the request. Now again, one more request came. Then again it came here. Then service registry is saying like, okay, out of 3, this is having less load. Let's forward request to like this. So internally, those algorithms will calculate which instance is having less load, guys. Okay. So that means your load is getting distributed. Okay, your load is getting distributed to all microservices instances. And gateway is also just making calls to respective microservices instances based on the load also. So we made completely 100% dynamic routing in this case with the help of service registry. So tomorrow assume you added okay 10 more instances of user microservice. Okay. For example, we discussed products right earlier products. So in this products point of view, by default 5 is available. Now you added 4 more on a big billion sale level. You added 10. Yes, 10 plus 5, 15 instances. Yes, all information available. That means across all 15 instances, what will happen, guys? The request will be shared. Now you reduced again. After maybe some sale is completed, then again you reduce it to 7. So now you reduce it to 7. Then what will happen? Only 7 microservices information, 7 instances information will be available in this service registry level. Why? The rest, you stopped 8. The moment you stopped, what will happen, guys? Those entries means those microservices instances information removed from service registry. So like that, service registry is making always dynamic. Okay, service registry is always in maintaining all microservices information in a centralized way, in a centralized place or like that. That is what called as service registry. So let's implement the service registry and then again we will see a couple of use cases also over this. We will see step by step point of view. So what we are doing right now is first we will create service registry application. So discovery clients are nothing but our microservices only. We will see that. So service registry application. Step number 1. Now let's create what? Service registry application. So what you have to do, just again Amazon services registry application. Okay, so cool. So Maven Java 21, fine. So here, yeah, this one. So please select from here Spring Cloud Discovery. So discovery point of view, take Eureka server. And I said discovery client, right? This is what. That means all microservices level, we have to add this dependency. I'll show you that. Okay. So now what you are creating right now is service registry application. So in this case, what is the dependency you have to take is Eureka server dependency. What is this? Eureka server. So that means add Eureka server starter. Okay, that's what you have to do. That's all you have to do. So the moment you added Eureka server while creating, okay, let's do like this. Create new Spring Boot application and add Eureka server starter. So next step number 2. Next, finish it and finish it and finish it. Okay, so let's go here now. Yeah, so it's getting created, right? Your Amazon services registry. See here. So guys, please make sure your laptops are always connected to internet when you are adding these things to your Spring Boot level. I mean, in your editor level. The reason is these are all downloading things are happening from the internet. You at least for the first time in your laptop never ever did earlier these concepts. That means this respective jar files not available local in your computer. For the first time, it will download always from the internet. Generally, what will happen, Maven will do two things. Generally, what Maven will do is okay, internally we will have some folder called as M2 folder. In the M2 folder, all jar files will be downloaded generally. Okay, all jar files will be downloaded. So it will verify whenever it need a jar file. Generally, what it will do is based on the pom.xml, whatever we given, right? We will give pom.xml level. So what it will do, for example, if you given some jar file dot jar something like Dilip -01 dot jar something like that, if I given, it will go and verify in the .m2 folder. Is it available or not in your computer? This is in your computer only, local memory pointer. If available, what it will do is it will take and it will attach to the project. Assume it's not available, then it will go to the respective service registry, nothing but internet level. So it will go to the internet and from there it will download and again it will keep it inside the M2 folder and then again it will add it to the project. So that means next time again you are using Dilip 01, yes, it's already downloaded right now, right? And it's available in your local computer, then it will take. So that means, but as a safer side point of view, what I'm trying to say in this case is, please make sure your systems are always connected to internet when you are working on these things for the first time. That's mandatory. Otherwise, jar files will not be downloaded if you are not connected to internet. Then applications will not work as expected. So now let's go back to the user Amazon services register. So if you see here, it's just creating as a Spring Boot web application only and just like a properties point of view. And let's expand Maven dependencies also. Just have a look. That's all. Android, see commons, see here, Eureka client, Eureka server, all these things. Eureka core, okay. That means Eureka server. And if you see here, I said, right, Netflix is the Netflix application, you know, our Netflix streaming, right? That is what implemented by microservices. See here. What is this? Netflix. That means this Eureka server, this Eureka client are the components given by the Netflix only, guys. Netflix company or Netflix only. So Netflix. So that means this service registry and discovery, especially these components are open source, and really the owner of these concepts of is Netflix. That's why we can say like one of the best example, Netflix is completely built on the microservices. And that too, now what I can say, Netflix is built on the Java language. You know, Netflix is the topmost OTT platform in entire world, the biggest OTT platform. So that is completely built on the microservices and Java. So it's a proof, live proof. Netflix, right? So they also given this. So they made these open things as open source, and these things are maintained by the Spring Boot framework with the with coordination of Netflix, and you can use in your projects. There is no issue. The reason is open source, and we can use. Yeah, that's the reason only I opened this jar file. See, now it's all JAX, and that means it's simply like again web application. Web application plus some more extra functionality, this Eureka functionality, service registry point of view and all. Spring Boot. See, all Spring Boot starters, you will get like something web module. So it's nothing but web Tomcat. So it is going to act as a web module only. See, this is what I'm trying to say, load balancing. Spring Cloud load balancer. So that means by default, see Netflix, Eureka client, Netflix, Eureka server. See guys, Netflix. So Netflix Eureka server. So that means these are all this Eureka server, this components are really implemented by Netflix earlier. And this is the idea of Netflix only. I mean, these components are built by the Netflix company and they made it as open source. So that means now see here, the moment you created service registry earlier, I said, right? Internally, what it will do the load balancing also. So that means user service is giving information, helping to the gateway application like, okay, so out of these three, this is having less load, this is having less load, forward your request to respective instance of all available instances like that. It is doing the default load balancing also. So for that, I shown you the proof right now. Spring Cloud hyphen load balancing. Even I thought of you showing this one also, load balancing. I'll prove practically also. The moment when you are sending 3 requests or 5 requests for the two user microservice, automatically request will be routed internally, sometimes to one instance, sometimes to another instance, sometimes to another instance. I'll prove that point also. So whatever I explained as of now, we will see everything practically. So the moment you create it like this, it's not done. One more thing what you have to do is second point, go to the main application. So here we have to add one annotation called as enable Eureka server. Eureka server is the annotation we have to add, guys. So second step is add an annotation in main Spring Boot application class, Spring Boot application class level. So it's a class level annotation. So this is how you have to add it. Okay, and if you want, I can give you the individual starter also in this case. How, I mean, the starter name is very, see, this is the starter. This is the starter of Spring Cloud for dealing with Eureka server. And this is provided by Netflix. So that's why Netflix is the entire Netflix is built on the Java language only, backend. Not only that, guys, Prime Video, all these things also. So we are done with the basic gateway application created. So we added this annotation also in the main class level. And let's go to the properties file. Yeah. So what we did 2 steps. And let's start the main application once, run as Spring Boot application and see what's happening, try to understand. Okay, so if you see here, some errors are coming, right? I'll show you what we will stop these errors and I'll explain you why these errors are also coming. See, some errors you are getting. Your service registry is started, but still couple of errors you are getting. What are those errors? We'll try to understand. Okay. And what I can do in this case is, okay, here one more thing is I'll give the property of port also, server.port, and give as 8761, guys. Okay, it's just make this always as 8761 as the port number. The reason I'll explain you in the service registry level, make your port number as 8761 for time being. We will see why we added 8761. After some examples, you can understand very easily. I mean, what is the reason behind this? We'll understand. So I'll give port number as 8761. Yeah, now let's start again one more time your application. Still you will have a lot of, okay, couple of exceptions. I'll tell you what is those exceptions also. See, you are seeing some exceptions, right? We will fix these exceptions. Why it is coming, I'll explain you. We have to add port number 8761 for service registry application always. So the moment that means what you are going to do here it is, yeah, this is the way you made the configuration. And then fourth step is start application now. Okay, and then the moment you started, application is getting started. So if you observe here, yes, it is started, right? 8761 and started, but started on 8761 port number, 8761 port number. That's okay. Then, yeah, but with some exceptions. What are those exceptions? We will see and we will fix those issues. We'll see what to do. There is some reason. I'll explain that reason also. But meanwhile, what I'm trying to do is, whatever based on our diagram point of view, see now our service registry is ready, right? Let's make sure our microservices as a discoverable clients. Our microservices also as a discoverable clients. So before that, what in this case, step number 5, service registry application, whenever we created service registry application, right? one service registry application got started. So you'll get always a default user interface portal. So that means localhost colon 8761 is the one you given, right? We are not given any context path. If you want, we can give it. So let's take this URL and enter in the browser. See guys, that's what I'm trying to say here it is. So in this case, service registry, the moment we created service registry application and whenever it is started, generally with the port number, whenever you entered into browser level, you will get some default UI. UI means user interface portal. So if you open here 8761 like this, see it's what? Service Spring Eureka server. And if you observe here, it is just saying like something like home, 100 seconds, last 1000. And if you observe here, I'll show you. See, right now, your Eureka server is up and running. Service register, Eureka server. See, now in this case, Eureka server is nothing but service registry, guys. To implement the service registry, okay, let me write this point of view also. So now you know that, right? For implementing this, we have a concept called as Eureka server provided by Netflix organization. Similarly, discovery clients, nothing but called as Eureka clients. And those are all those concepts also provided by Netflix only. But anyway, we'll see that. See, right now, your Eureka server is ready. Your service register is ready. But there are no, if you see here, instances currently registered with Eureka. So, right, I said right earlier, based on this diagram, what I said, the moment you started your microservices, it will register with, okay, service registry. That information you can see from here. But if you observe here right now, there is nothing like, okay, let me start user microservice, order, gateway also. Gateway I started, and payment I started, order I started. I started all. Okay, so I started all, even user microservice, I started total 3 instances. Now go and verify your Eureka server by default automatically added or not. See, nothing is showing here. That means why? We did not implemented gateway and service registry. We are not given information of Eureka server or service registry to gateway as well as all our microservices. So that's why I said we have to enable the discovery client functionality at every microservice. So if you go and verify, see it's your Eureka server is ready, but you are not made gateway as well as your microservices, this gateway application as well as your overall microservices as discovery clients. You are not made that. So that's why that means what we have to do now, we have to make all our microservices as well as gateway also as a discovery clients. The moment you added that functionality, automatically, whenever you started your microservices, that information you can see all here. So, but if you observe here, Amazon Services Register is registered with this Eureka server. With this Eureka server, what application registered, guys? Amazon Services Registry. But actually, Amazon Service Registry is the application of same application, right? So that means what happened in this case? Same application registered itself. That's what happened. So that means by default, yeah, let's write here. You said, right, some errors, some exceptions. These are the exceptions. So in this case, what's happening here it is, by default, understand the point, service registry application itself registering as a client, as a discovery client or a client, okay? So as a client means discovery client. By default, service registry server application also, okay, application itself registering as a client application on its own. So that means you started Spring Boot service registry application only. But what happening by default in this case is same as a server, same as a client also it is registered. Actually, it is server application, Eureka server, Spring Boot registry. Spring Boot registry means server application. Again, it is acting as a client also. It is registering as a client also. So that means it's my same application is acting as a Eureka server as well as Eureka client also. So that is all. Why? Because if you observe the dependencies also, if you see here, what is this? Eureka clients. And I'll show you one more place also. Spring Boot, Spring Cloud. Yeah. If you see here, what happened? By default, when you created Eureka server, yes, our purpose is creating the Eureka server. Along with that, by default, Eureka client is also added. Client functionality is also added to the same application. So that's why you are seeing those exceptions always. So now let's try to understand once again. So that means in this case, we can stop this default behavior. So that means in this case, we can stop this default behavior. So that means there is no point, right? Sometimes myself server, myself client. I'm acting as a server application for other clients, for all other for other application point of view. But at the same time, myself, I am also registered again as a client. It's not right. So sometimes maybe it is as a valid scenario, but if you want, you can. In this case, we can stop this default behavior. Nothing but what we can do is stopping, okay, registering itself as a client once again. So that means we can stop this behavior. Yeah, now let's go and see. This is service registry application, right? So if you don't want to see this entry again as a client, if you don't want to see this registration here, you have to add few properties. So that means uh, stopping self-registration as a client. That is what we are doing here. It is by default, it is registering, but now what I'm doing is I'm doing in the same application I'm doing, guys, if you observe or not. Same is registering again as a client, right? But I'm stopping that functionality. So for that, we have some spring.cloud.eureka. Let me search with Eureka. See, I know that now a lot of properties are coming into the picture, right? We saw in the gateway level a lot of properties, and today we are seeing a lot of new properties. Remembering all these properties is very difficult for everyone. But at least you should know a concept wise, okay, some properties we are already have to stop this service or to do the routing configuration. We have some properties. That level of knowledge you should have. It's not like exact property name you have to remember every point of view. It's very difficult. Even I cannot also remember. So, but you should know, okay, some property is there. That at least you should remember until that level. Okay, sometimes I can ask you a question like how to stop self-registration as a client when you created a service registry application. Then you should not say like we don't have any alternative like that. We have to say like, yes, we have some predefined properties, something like we can, by using those properties, we can, okay, disable that functionality. So that means something we have. We will not expect exact property name. It's not difficult. It's not that much easy. So that is all. Okay. Eureka. Prefer allow redirections. No, not these things. Client fetch registry. Yeah, this one also by default to true, and I'll make it as false. One of the property, and I'll add one more also. We have one more also, self-registration, something will be there. Yeah, this one I think. See what it is. Default value is Boolean. That means, see here you can understand why whether it is a Boolean value or not. Register with Eureka. So what it is saying indicates, this property indicates whether or this instance should register its information with Eureka server for discovery by others or not. So that means you're saying like, no, I don't want to do this information and again. So let's make this one also as a false. By default, you're just making same self-registration, self-fetching information. I said fetching means what? Collecting. That's what I said previous point of view. So I said, right, service registry application will collect each microservice. Collects or fetch. That is the word they are using there. So it will fetch each microservice information. So I'm saying like same set, why I have to collect my own same information once same application is okay, collecting its own information once again. That's what I'm trying to say here. It's all self-registration, stopping and all this. Now stop, save all changes. Yeah, let's start again, once again, your service registry, right? So let's start once again. See, now there are those exceptions you can't see here. That reason is that self-fetching, self-registration with Eureka, again, same point of view, we disable that. So that's why you can't see those exceptions what you saw earlier. But anyway, now your server is started on 8761 port number. So if you want to give context path, you can give, guys. Okay. So in this case, you can give the context path, server.servlet context path slash whatever it is. You can give image and Eureka, whatever it is. Registry, I'll give meaningful path instead of that. Okay, so I can give like this also. Okay, let me restart because we are not added dev tools, right? See, this time it is started with context path slash registry, right? So now go to the here. So this time you have to access via registry pointer. See the moment, this is the URL now. So what we did here it is, And the moment whenever you made like this, then finally localhost slash registry. Finally, your Eureka server, nothing but service registry URL is this one. So now our Eureka server is ready, guys. So now let's go and access this. Now see here, no instances. Instances currently registered with what? 0 instances. Why? Even I started gateway user order payment. Why? Because as of now, by default, our microservices are not going to register with our service register application. By default, it will not. So for that, what we have to do means, we have to make or enable our microservices also as a discoverable clients, discovery clients or discoverable clients, whatever it is, discovery clients. So then once you made all our microservices as discovery clients, then your microservices are going to be registered with service registry. Then you can see how many instances started. I said, right, this information, all this information we will see in this portal. See, this portal just as a developer point of view, we can understand very easily something like how many instances right now up and running like that. This portal will help us. So this user interface, whatever you are seeing, right? This user interface, this is already implemented in the service registry application level by Spring Boot team. Okay. Simple thing is the moment, whatever the URL and host name you given, port number and context path, you can access via that. Okay. And then you can see here it is. Right now, no instances because we are not made any instance as a discovery clients. So in the next session, we will enable all our microservices as well as gateway application also at discovery client. So that means now what is next point here? It is next task in this case is enabling all our microservices and as well as enabling and configuring our microservices as a discovery clients. Then we will see again. Okay, all those things are automatically available, this information in this case or not. So let's connect our next session and meanwhile just do this kind of configuration like this. See now in this case, my application user microservice project, I started into 3 instances, guys. So you can just do right click. So now if you want to do again one more time order service also, order service, duplicate config, then it will create a new config. Go to that, open config, and then just give the name once again, whatever you want to give name here. It's okay. It's user choice. Second instance, something like that. And here you have to give the port number, the new port number, what exactly, okay, I'm giving like 8020 server.port. Apply, close it, and then again start your application. Otherwise, by default, it will take 8080. So I'm starting second instance of order microservice. First one is already there by default, 8002, now 820, 8020, I started total 2 instances. See here, 8001, 8010, 8011, user service point of view. Order service point of view, 8002, 8020. So it's running on 2 port numbers. That means 2 instances, 2 by 2, 3 by 3 instances. If you stopped one of the instance like 8001, then see here 2 by 3 instances. Total 3 instances we configured, but we started that to 8010 and 8011. User microservice running on 8010 and 11. So that means you can switch on, you can switch off any instance dynamically, and that should not impact routing information. Now this time, yes, once you made our service register, okay, gateway and as well as all our microservices as discovery clients, and once we configure it, then automatically routing will also complete it. Routing will happen automatically to each and every instance level. So not only the advantage of this one, guys, even we have a lot of advantage with service registry going further with respect to config server. So while you are implementing the config server also, while we are implementing the config server as well as REST microservices communication point of view also, in a lot of areas, service registry is going to help us. Okay, in a lot of areas, service registry is going to make a biggest play role. So let's just understand this very well and try to understand, it's a simple thing when you are correlating with our day-to-day scenarios point of view. It's a very simple thing. Let's meet in the next session and let's enable and configure all our microservices as a discovery clients. Then again, we will see all the information here and we will see rest of the use cases then.